Hi and welcome back. Today we're gonna be talking about Lunacid. No, not that sort of acid. No, Gary, no. Lunacid is an indie dungeon crawler inspired by games like Kingfield, and it is an incredible experience that you should just go and play. You don't have to watch this video, just go and play Lunacid and then come back here if you want to hear my opinion. If you already played it or you just want to hear my opinion first, that's alright, but you know, I would recommend playing this game. Not hearing anything about it, just going in there, picking up a guide because you'll likely need one, and then just roughly following that guide. I'll link the one I use down in the description. But Lunacid is a fantastic game. It is an exercise in how to do game design in a good way, how to make a fun game that allows you to play in whichever way that you want to within the game's world. A true exercise in actual freedom of choice in games. And it is just a fantastic game. I really can't stress how much I love this game. From the world building to the locales to everything else in it. I love Lunacid and I cannot wait to get into it with you. Lunacid is fantastic. Lunacid is a game that really captures what it feels to go through a dark and depraved world. In a lot of senses, it shows both the beauty that can be inhabited in a dark world, but also just the sort of pure brutality of it. The storytelling, everything is just really well done in Lunacid. And to begin with, I just want to talk about the basis of gameplay, which is fairly simple. And it revolves around you charging up your weapon or not charging up your weapon, walking into your enemy and slapping the shit out of them with it. There are different forms of weapons and different forms of magic as well, where you also just charge up the magic and then you have this sort of spell that explodes, and it's really not that complicated, but it works really well. It is one of those things where simplicity does more, and in this case, this really works well for the game, and I think there is no more like sort of complaints there for me. I really enjoy how this combat plays and how it plays in practice, despite the fact that it is simple. Because sometimes simplicity breeds creativity, and I think this is one such case. Because not every weapon have the same charged up attack. You see, you start out with very simple weapons, maybe you start a sword where it's just a slightly stronger version of the sword. Then you end off with the Moonlight Greatsword from Dark Souls that shoots a projectile when you charge it up. You have stars that charge up with this giant fucking laser ball type of light ball-esque thing. I love it. It's so good. And there is a lot of this sort of thing. There's a lot of different spells, from outright trolls, which is a spell literally called turning corpse, which turns you into a corpse. And if you're wondering what that means, like me, like, surely it wouldn't just kill you. It literally just kills you. There is a lot of these sort of things in this game, and I find them really funny and really well placed in a way where they didn't annoy me a lot, they just more so made me laugh. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough. And there is a lot of different variations to that. You might be wondering, well, what else is there? There's a projectile sword and so what? Well, you have your flail that can be upgraded by using it to the Marauder's Flail. The Marauder's Flail having multiple flails all in one, so now you don't just charge up and hit once, you charge up and hit multiple times. You have things such as my own personal Blessed Wind, which is a sword that slaps multiple times. And when I say my own personal, I just mean it's my favorite. I love that thing. It slaps like multiple times, so you can just spam click and just see a bunch of sword swings. And it just feels really good to use. There's also halberds which have different reaching ranges, I'm fairly sure, compared to your usual swords and stuff. And there's just a lot of options here. And it is laid onto this wonderful world that Lunacid is set in. Lunacid is a dark fantasy combined with Lovecraftian horror game, and it is shown really well in the locations that you'll be visiting throughout the game. And while I won't be covering every single location that you can visit in this video, partially out of fear that you haven't played the game and you deserve to see them for your first time by yourself, I will be covering a few. Specifically, I'll be covering Temple of Silence. I'll also be talking about the Sanguine Sea and the Forbidden Archives. Temple of Silence is one of those areas that really got to me a lot. And I think that is partially because it is a early area within Lunacid, but I also think it is because Temple of Silence is really well designed. It is just the amount of secrets that are there, the way you can explore the area, being that it's very intricate and you can sort of let it loop back around itself and everything like that, with multiple areas and exits out to new areas of the game. But more than anything, it is the lore and the implications that are in there that freak me the fuck out. Because you see, as you explore Temple of Silence, you'll be seeing these dead bodies with a hole in their face. And as you explore further and further, you find out that this is a sect of the monks that have also fallen down this great well that you are also in. And well, they've sort of summoned something. And that something somehow awakened their brain. And you find this autopsy. And it describes how the damages to the face wasn't done from outside the face, but from inside. Almost as if the brain crawled out of their face. Which is genuinely horrifying. Like, what? It is such a cool sort of idea to come with, and the way it's set up in the game is really well done. Because when you first enter the area, they are all dead. There isn't really any enemies. But then eventually you do a thing, and that opens the enemies. That essentially spawns them in terms of a gameplay design term, right? Like, it lets them live or awakens them. And now all of a sudden these areas that you've already been in are filled to the brim with these zombied out monks. And it is fucking horrifying, actually. The very first time that got me good. I'm not gonna lie, that one got me really well. So, therefore, I will say, I think it was one of the most memorable areas. But that's also probably because it is paced so well. It is essentially one of the very first areas that you'll be seeing in the game. And I think that is a genuine, really good decision on a, like, sort of pacing term. Because it paces the game and sort of immediately sets the expectations of what you can expect. And it does not disappoint from there. Now, if we skip a little bit ahead in your adventures with Lunacid, you will eventually reach a place called the Sanguine Sea, and I honestly didn't think a lot of it until I reached it. And it is sort of a transition area. There isn't a lot here. There is this guard, a giant thing called Jotun, which can't be killed unless you do a specific little thing. But there's essentially this giant monster. It doesn't hurt you, it doesn't do anything. And one of the most immediate things you'll notice, as is kind of given away by the name, is that you are walking in a sea of what presumably is blood. And it is genuinely really horrifying. Partially because it is so empty. There are a few NPCs, mainly monsters, that you can kill. They don't hurt you if you don't. And there is a boss, and that's it. There's nothing else in the Sanguine Sea. Otherwise, there are only 3 different areas you can go to. It is genuinely really weird and horrifying and sort of tense the first time. Partially because of how the game renders darkness, being that it is literally just dark. And that is really fucking scary. Part of me was expecting a sea serpent or something, but there was nothing. There never came any jump scare, never anything horrifying. It was just really tense the first time through. And it is something that I, to this day, appreciate a lot. And it is also an area where I found the way that I'll be playing the rest of the game, which is that there's a spell that you can find later on called Coffin that allows you to summon coffins that you can use to cheese the shit out of some jumping puzzles and whatnot. And there's a lot of things like that in the game, but Sanguine Sea was the first place I personally discovered it. I love the Sanguine Sea. I think it's a really well done location. Lastly, I want to talk about the Forbidden Archives. It is probably my favorite location in the game. Step aside, King. No more Temple of Silence. Friendship started with the Forbidden Archives. There's a lot of reasons why I like the Forbidden Archives a lot. These include the enemies design just being so unique and creative, being that you are killing Necronomicons that sort of fly around and spit spikes out at you, chimeras, and of course there's the milk snails. And that is all added up to with this really cool NPC that reads these dark tombs that essentially are these dark magic and forbidden knowledge tombs that you can give to him, and he then gives you some magic. And on top of that, it has a popping fucking soundtrack. Now, I haven't talked a lot about it up until this point. The entire game has a fantastic soundtrack that you'll likely see me use, at least in this video, because I fucking love the soundtrack. And specifically, the Forbidden Archives also has a really popping soundtrack. I genuinely love the exploration music here. Just walking around can feel so, in a sense, relaxing. It is the perfect sort of funk study music. And I genuinely really fucking love it. It is the place that I came back to again and again and again, even after having picked everything up there, just to level up my weapons or whatever. Whenever there was anything else I needed to do, it was the place I felt the most comfortable in the entire game. And it is played off so well. And especially because you don't ever really have to visit the Forbidden Archives, as far as I know. I don't think there's anything you quote-unquote need there. Most players probably will end up visiting it at some point, but I do think it is probably possible to just straight up skip it. I think that just adds to the mystique of it and like the coolness factor. Just this fact that it's this random fucking location that you could end up missing that has a bunch of funk and vibe to it, and it's just hidden away in the corner of the game. And you can go there and you can find cool enemies, a cool NPC, get some cool quests, all of these sorts of things. And I think it's just really well done. I genuinely love the Forbidden Archives. Now that we've talked a little bit about the world that you will be exploring, why don't we talk a little bit more about how you will be progressing in that world? Progress in Lunacid comes in a lot of forms. You have your classic levels, then you have your stats you can put your levels into. You also have different weapons with different upgrades that you can sort of upgrade by just using them. Just gain XP with the weapon, and eventually you can go and you can upgrade it into a different version of itself. Sometimes that gives it an entirely new attack. Sometimes it completely changes the weapon. And sometimes it is literally just the same weapon but made out of a new material so it does more damage. There is a lot of different sort of plays off of this like upgrade system. And it is a really fun thing to explore and progress with. Mainly because it changes your weapons visually and sometimes even can alter the playstyle a little bit. Although usually it just adds to it. It is a really fun system that I honestly am really impressed with how much there is to it. More than that, I think another way that you'll be progressing more so is just through exploration. Exploration is something that you'll be doing pretty much the entire time you're playing this game. And it is something that I personally really like to do in Lunacid. You see, Lunacid isn't just a pretty corridor with a bunch of pretty locales to visit. No, sorry. The exploration factor here is pretty big. Not just from the way that you will be exploring the world, but also just for the items that you will be finding. Weapons, spells, materials, anything in between. Spells specifically can range from being really cool to being kind of, I will never use this again in my life, but they are there. An example of a spell that I used pretty much since I got it was Coffin. Coffin is a spell that allows you to summon a coffin, which can either be summoned upright or horizontally. Place it anywhere. It doesn't do any damage, it doesn't do anything. The reason why it's useful is that there's a lot of things in high places that you want to pick up. For that you have 2 or 3 things you can do. There are other spells than Coffin. There are things like the Icarus jump that essentially can push you further up depending on your jump height. How do you increase your jump height? Well, your jump height is determined by your dexterity, so you can put more stats into dexterity to jump higher. And that sounds in and of itself just silly, but it ends up being incredibly useful, both for avoiding enemy attacks as you can jump over them, but also just for the simple fact that there are secrets that are up in really high places, and being able to jump up there is really nice. So it is a game that sort of factors a lot of different exploration features. And of course you also have different NPC quests that will take you to different places and sometimes doing different things, and they can range from anywhere from being really cool and you'll get a really cool reward to being really silly and they'll give you a more silly reward. And all of them fit really well into the overall game. An example of a quest that I personally really find fun, and it's very early on, is the slime girl quest. Essentially you'll meet this literal blob of slime that is apparently a girl, and the slime needs to find her boyfriend. You see, her boyfriend has been missing, and you'll be going out to find the boyfriend. It turns out that the boyfriend actually left her. I know, very sad. So you go back and you deliver the news to her, like the slime, and she immediately starts hitting on you. And it is just the funniest thing in the world. I really like this quest. There's a lot more to it that I left out, and specifically some of the way that the lore is written and the story is written is really funny, but it is a genuinely good quest, and it rewards you with the slime summon ring, which summons a slime. Like I said, city quest, city reward. And so there is a lot of these sort of quests in the game. Some of them will unlock entire secrets, and some of them will unlock endings. An example of something that can unlock the ending is a puzzle involving VHS tapes that you can find, where you need to find all of the VHS tapes and find all of the spells, and then you can unlock a secret ending to the game. And there is a lot of these secrets. There's also one that involves you slaying a certain big old boss with a certain weapon, and there are a lot of different things in this game that can sort of revolve around it. And what I find even cooler is that for a game with multiple endings, it's handled really well here, as you don't have to play through the entire game to get every ending. You can just play in the same save file and they put you right before you ended the game. You can literally not lock yourself out of items in Lunacid, and that is a really cool sort of part of the game. It is one of the reasons why I personally made the decision to 100% Lunacid and get all the achievements, because it was a game that sort of incentivized me to do it through not having me restart the entire fucking game every time I wanted to get a new ending or anything like that. And I appreciate that design philosophy. I think that's really cool, and I think it is done really well here again. Because without getting into too many spoilers, the ending of the game is really good and really well paced as well, even though especially the secret ending, which I consider the true ending, can be a little weird. But there are a lot of these sort of secrets and things that you can find and explore, from entire secret areas to secret endings. Lunacid has a lot of it, and all of that is tied together by a wonderful hub world filled with really cute and really nice NPCs. Things like the skeletons that will tell you different stories. I just genuinely find so funny, and all of these different characters end up, having their own backstories and things that you can learn about them. It's really quite nice, and it's something that I think you, if you at all seem interested in this game, should try. You shouldn't hesitate. You should just go and buy Lunacid. One of the most interesting things with Lunacid, in my opinion, is that I think the game to a certain extent encourages multiplayer gameplay in a single player world. And what I mean by that is the same cooperative nature that something like Dark Souls has. It is not a game that I think is meant to be played without a guide. I don't think the developer looked at you for using a guide as being any less of a player. Because you see, I've seen some negative reviews here and there, and some of them have talked about, the fact that you need a guide from some things. And the reality is, yes, you do. Have you ever tried to play an old school dungeon crawler? They can be very hard to get through without either following a guide or drawing a map yourself. Lunacid is no different. There are things that are very obtuse within Lunacid, especially if you're trying to get all the endings blind. I would say probably for a single ending you can probably reasonably go through the entire game without using a guide. But I will also point out that some of the secret endings I think are going to be very hard to do without having a guide, I'll be honest. But I don't really mind the fact that I think it encourages the use of a guide. I think there are a lot of games that do that in a different manner, right? Like Dark Souls has its own messaging system that can help you sort of try to help your fellow Souls players, all of these sort of things. And I think it is an encouragement of the community, of trying to help each other and do that sort of thing. And I think it is a wonderful idea that is also explored really well here through, especially the secret endings, which I imagine was quite hard to discover by yourself. Now, if you'll allow me to talk a little bit about the endings and sort of the theming of the game, without spoiling too much, I personally believe that one of the big themes in Lunacid is what's the point? And I don't mean that in the hopeless sense, I mean that in the sense of what's the point of creating? What do you really take away from a game? And I think there's an ending specifically that calls the game a dream that you can keep with you, that sort of furthers that sentiment in my mind, that this is a game that asks the question, it might not be real, there might not be anything real in here that you can changeably keep, but you can still keep this sort of dream world with you, sort of as something that you can think about. And that has worked for me. Like, I have been thinking about this game non-stop since I completed it a few days ago. That is not every game that has me do that. That's fucking impressive. I don't know how the fuck they did that, but like, it's so well written. It's so good. I really genuinely enjoy that. And I genuinely enjoy the way that the story comes together, especially the endings and sort of these things. I enjoy that a lot. I think it's well worth exploring, especially if you haven't played it yourself. And very lastly, in case there is any chance of Kira the Deaf watching this, just want to say thank you for making Lunacid. It's a wonderful game. But also, please fix the prequel Lunacid Tears of the Moon. I have tried to launch this thing on my PC multiple times and it just crashes every time. And I really want to experience it. Essentially, Lunacid does have a prequel that you can play for free on Steam. It is set in the Kingfield engine, but I have not been able to play it, even though I really want to, because every time I open up the game, it just shuts down. I cannot record it, I cannot do anything with it, I can't even just play it. And it's really a shame because I want to try to play this game, it looks really fun. Anyway, that's about it for me today. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like, comment and subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff. Check out Lunacid on Steam, I will leave a link to it down in the description. Genuinely, if you haven't played this game, you owe it to yourself to give it a try. With that being said, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.